Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. My name is Lee Knox, and I will be the service leader today. We are located on the lands of the Chichimeca, Otomi, and Nahua people, and we are making community by Zoom all across North America. Welcome all of you joining us today, wherever you are, whatever your religious background or lack thereof, and whoever you love. You can bring your whole self here. We Unitarian Universalists believe in the interconnectedness of all existence, and that we are one human family. The term syncretism refers to the merging of different religions, cultures, or schools of thought. For keen observers of religious rituals here in Mexico, syncretism is obvious. Our speaker today is Albert Coffey, an archaeologist who participated in the excavation of the local archaeological zone, Cañada de la Virgen. His focus of study has been the ancient cultures of Mesoamerica. Archaeology has in it all the qualities that call for the larger view of the human race, which is seen in all stages of social and religious development. Albert will speak to us today about what unites us through culture and religion and through the ages. Also today, in addition to our piano player, Jerry Fastrup, we have a guest musician, Yaya Fuentes, who is originally from Chile, but calls San Miguel her home now. She will be performing on the hang, or hang, an instrument which is a cousin to the steel drum. After the service, those who are with us by Zoom today are invited to stay connected and visit with others and to discuss today's talk. Those who are with us here in person can join us after the service for coffee and cookies right over here. If we have any visitors today, would you please stand so that we can see who you are and personally greet you at coffee hour? Oh, we have quite a few. Wonderful, welcome. And yes?
Don't forget that Jerry needs to play his prelude.
I've just been informed that I forgot to have Jerry play the prelude, and I forgot to ring our bell.
That's what I was waiting for.
Okay, take two. Thank you, Jerry. So back to the announcements. Today's flowers were provided and arranged by Sydney Rice. After the service, the flowers will be brought to someone chosen by our care team. If you would like to provide flowers for an upcoming service, see our head usher, Diana Weiner, who is waving back in the back of the room. We do record our Sunday services. To watch any of our previous services, just go to youtube.com and type in UUFSMA. You can also find these recordings and lots of other useful information on our website, UUFSMA.org. And now, Paula, would you be so kind as to light our chalice while I say these opening words? We light the flame of this chalice, which reminds us that the fire within ourselves is the same fire that illuminates the universe. It is our reminder that all is connected. This flame is our promise that even in our smallness and our short time on this earth, we strive to live intently and deeply, with honesty and integrity, with love for one another, and with a sense of shared responsibility. There's another announcement. There has been a change in the board leadership. There was supposed to be an email go out yesterday, but apparently it didn't go out. Our president, Joan Wolfe, has had a health crisis and has needed to resign the presidency. And so as vice president, I was asked to step up and be the president for the rest of the term, and I accepted. And then board member Alan Ziesman. And board member Alan Ziesman is now the vice president. Thank you, Alan. Now let's join our voices together in song. It's number 65, The Sweet June Days. The lyrics will appear on the screen, and I invite you to stand as you are willing and able, and please remain standing after the hymn while we recite our covenant. Please remain standing as we recite this fellowship's unique covenant, first in English and then with Miguel Angel leading us in Spanish. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
And now we're going to Tom for joys and concerns.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Tom Rossiello, minister of the fellowship, and today I'm coming to you from our lake cottage in Massachusetts, where it's gray and cold and rainy today. And even though I'm presently not in San Miguel, and whether you are or not also, I want you to know that if you need pastoral care or the assistance of a minister in any matter, I'm still available, and please email me and we can set up a time to talk. You should also know that our care team is also available to be of assistance, and all that contact information for me and for them are on the fellowship's website, UUFSMA.org. We now enter into a very sacred time in our service, a time when members and friends share the joys, sorrows, and concerns that they're experiencing with their community. If you have a joy or a sorrow or concern that you'd like shared in a future service, please email it to me and I or another person will share it in an upcoming service. If you're on Zoom and you wish to share something today, you may do so by typing it into the chat now. And some folks may have written a joy, sorrow, or concern on a card as they came into the service this morning, and those will be shared after I complete the ones that I have. As we share each joy, sorrow, or concern, a candle will be lit at the aldea, indicating that that joy, sorrow, or concern is held in all of our hearts this morning. Our first candle is for our President Joan Wolfe, who, as you heard, has a health crisis. She'll be having surgery next week to remove an ovarian tumor, and she'll then likely go through many months of chemo and treatment. She will need to devote all her time and energy to her treatment and recovery, and as you heard, has resigned as president. In just a few months, Joan moved our fellowship forward in a very meaningful way, and this candle is one of gratitude and support for Joan. We also light a candle of support and gratitude for Lee and Alan and all the board members, committee and task force members who are stepping up to fill in the gap and getting the work of the fellowship done. Many of you wanted to light a candle for your hermana and our good friend Donna Sherbrooks, who is with us this morning on Zoom. And I corresponded with Donna early this week, and she said she's doing pretty well in Connecticut with chemo and has leg surgery coming up soon to remove a tumor to strengthen her femur. She's got a good support network in Connecticut, as well as her hermanas and other friends here at the fellowship. I'd like to light a personal candle. A close friend of mine for nearly 50 years passed away on Friday. Barclay Wood, a truly wonderful musician and teacher, one of Malcolm's organ teachers, a wonderful person, will be missed by many. Our next candle is from Linda Soren, who, in addition to wanting to be sure that we lit candles for her two hermanas, which we did earlier, expressed a concern of the murders of journalists in Mexico. The third this year was murdered in Puebla recently. We include in the concerns that we share not only our personal concerns, but those that affect the broader community in the world. We now light our blue and yellow candle again for all those who lost their lives, lost loved ones, or been injured or displaced by the unjust and unprovoked war in Ukraine. Finally, this week is Wear Orange Weekend in the United States. By observing that, by wearing orange, we honor the communities shattered by gun violence alongside the 120 people who were shot and killed and the hundreds more who are wounded every day in the United States by gun violence. I have a little bit of orange on, but I found an orange candle here in the cottage, and I'm going to light it as you light a candle there. And by lighting this orange candle, we join in the call for meaningful action to save lives. Thank you, and now back for more joys and concerns at the Aldea.
Thank you, Tom. The only thing I'd like to add is to wish Hugh Tomlinson a happy birthday. Apparently he's not here today. He just turned 70 on Friday. Now, while our guest musician, Yaya Fuentes, plays for us, I invite those of you who wish to silently come forward and to light a candle here on our table to do so now. Please form two lines in the center aisle. Yaya? Thank you. She will perform for us again a little later in the service. Before we invite our speaker to come forward, I would like to offer this short reading by UU minister Tanya Marquez, who has roots in the indigenous people of Mesoamerica. And she will be our guest minister next month for 2 services, July 2nd and July 9th. Tanya writes this about her people. From the heights of the mountains, the jungle and the desert, from the depth of the sea, from a time that was, from a time that stretches beyond our memory, we are called. Our histories stretch back to the first people, the first steps, the collision of worlds, to abrupt beginnings, all wanderers of this land. We have inherited the unfinished labor of our ancestors, of those that came before us. We are called to continue the work. Now, Albert Coffee, everyone.
Good morning. I have here. Okay. I have a question. How can I get one of those drums? That's the most beautiful music I've heard in a long time. I'd love to have one of those in my house instead of stealing my steering wheel. But and how did they get so many good-looking people into one place at one time legally?
So let's do this with the mic and then just leave.
Okay. Is that okay? All right. I'm here because I've been invited a few times, and one of my favorite things to do ever is to come here and participate in these church activities and to speak, because it gives me a chance to be the center of attention for a while. And I get home, that's the opposite, but I see a lot of friendly faces, people I know, people I haven't met before, but I really do feel inspired and comfortable here, and I think that's maybe the reason a lot of us came here. And it's a hard time of getting through. I've been through some legal stuff and all this other drama, but I come here and I feel like it's like a safe haven, especially on a Sunday. And I really thank you for letting me be here and let me talk, because I could keep talking for like 3 hours, but they had given me 20 minutes. So I'm going to cut it down and make it short. But to compress what I want to tell you into a very short speech is about the topic of syncretism. Not synchronicity, but syncretism. It's a word that a lot of people don't know about, but it's the blending of religions. And I think that in times like these, the blending of religions, races, and politics, and all the other aspects of stratified society in the world we should address, because well, basically, I went to a Catholic school when I was young until the 3rd grade. I got home one day, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd grade. I said, "Mommy, what did I do to make me a sinner? I don't remember what I did. Why did I feel so bad about what I did, but I don't remember what it was? They told me I was a sinner, I was born in sin." I'm not degrading the Catholic Church, but things like that made me look into other cultures, other people, other religions, and I had the opportunity to help excavate at the site at the Cañada de la Virgen archaeological site. Some of you have been on my tour, and I really appreciate you guys who have sent people to me and have been there. I really appreciate that, especially in these times when the tourism dropped in COVID times. It's coming back now. But syncretism, the blending of 2 religions, is one of the topics that I present to people almost every day. And it's a vague, hard to explain topic. The hardest topic to explain is the similarities between different cultures and cultural areas throughout the world through pyramid building, burial practices, art, religion, and the things that make Mesoamerica unique to me, that made me very interested since the 3rd grade when I did my first project on the Incas and the Aztecs, was the honoring of the earth, animals, natural processes, and the cosmos. And it seems to me that every time a religion focuses focuses on those aspects. Other religions can consider them pagan. The most interesting aspect of the archaeological site to me is the fact, well, one of them is the sacredness of dogs. I didn't come here just to talk about dogs, but I woke up this morning, I had my 3 dogs around me, and I'm like, you know, I really appreciate you guys because I'm losing faith in a lot of the humanity I see around me. Not you people in particular, but I really appreciate dogs more and more every day. And the dog was the most sacred animal to the people who built the ceremonial centers in this part of Mexico. In particular, the Xoloitzcuintle, the Mexican hairless, the dog of the elite, the dog that was sent as a guide through the darkness of the underworld. And the Chihuahua has been found in other parts of Mexico in tombs and whatnot. The regular domestic dog and the coyote. And the pure love that comes from a dog is what I'm kind of focusing on right now. I don't know how to put it in words, but apart from that, every human burial discovered at the archaeological site here near San Miguel was accompanied by at least one canine. Other people, offerings and whatnot, jade, jadeite, obsidian. That part of the religion, I think, really kind of blends into our present-day reality. The Christian cross was familiar to indigenous people in this area when the Spanish got here as the equilateral pre-Hispanic cross, a reference to the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 winds. The gods became the saints. Some of this stuff I'm repeating, you people may have heard before, but different elements that blended in with the Catholic calendar, for example, the dates that were important to indigenous people, March 4th, October 9th, the beginning and ending of the rainy season, marked by the setting sun into the main pyramid at the site. When viewed from the patio floor, those things that were researched by astronomers, archaeologists, are helping to bring a really unique connection between modern day religion and pre-Hispanic. The gun violence that I just heard mentioned is really important to me. I have not been to the U.S. in 7 years. I've been here for 19. I have not been back to the U.S. in 7 years, and I tell people every day, I really appreciate living here more every day, even after 19 years, especially when I turn on the news. I turn on the news and I say, thank goodness I live in Mexico where it's safe. And I know that Mexico has its problems, but that kind of insanity and that kind of lack of control and just anger I don't see here. Just as an example, I'm going to deviate a little bit. I was at the archaeological site during an election 6 years ago for a nighttime event to see the sun set into the pyramid, and all of the different people who are archaeologists, tour guides, local people, we sat around a fire, we shared a meal. Some people argued a bit about the politics. In the end, we all left hugging each other. We were all friends. The polarization is not the same. I know all over the world there are political situations that make us pit ourselves against each other. And that's why I really enjoy being in a place like this where I think that what I just read, I'm not a member of the church officially, but what I read and when I hear you people, and I've read it and I've participated, it's very inspiring to me because it's a unification of people who are of like mind, who want peace. Is that really your last name? I wish, that's unbelievable. I wish I had that name. Mine is Coffee, and I drink it too, but I really appreciate that. And also, just to get back to the point about the archaeological history of the area, which is not my focus today, but the blending of the 2 religions is obvious. It's obvious to anthropologists, it's obvious to archaeologists and people who study that officially. It's ingrained into the Catholic community and their traditions here. I don't have a PhD in this. I have given tours and classes to PhD candidates. I've been immersed in this. I participated in the excavation of the archaeological site. But I've been here, I was married to a local woman for 10 years. I'm trapped here now. I have kids here. They helped me become a citizen, so I'm happy about that. But the main point is, what I've learned from witnessing the Catholic traditions here and their connection to the pre-Hispanic is very profound, especially in places like San Miguel, Cholula, Puebla, all over Mexico. Some of the churches blend that art and religion very intimately, the most interesting aspect to me, and that's what I try to present to people. In particular, the March 4th event, the setting of the sun into the main pyramid, is called the planting of the sun. The time when we think people carried seeds that were the best seeds for planting for corn up into the patio of a ceremonial walkway to be blessed by the priest before the planting season began. It's also Dia del Señor de la Conquista, the day of the Lord of the Conquest, when they take their dark-skinned version of Jesus out of the main church, the parroquia, and they paraded about town with Indian dancers following. The Spanish priests converted that name from the time when they honored the time when the rain came and the planting process into the day that the indigenous people accepted Jesus as their savior. So they had a good way of manipulating those meanings and terms and as far as tradition and ceremony. But that date and those dates that are very important to indigenous people have been lost, and they've been disconnected from the actual people who honored them. And I think one of the most important things left to do is to try to discover and retrieve the knowledge and wisdom, legends and stories and history of elderly and older people who have lived in these communities, who try to give that information to the younger people. The problem is there's a big generation gap, and most of the younger men are working in the U.S., sending money back, and the elderly and the children don't have a chance to reconnect and learn those things. The velación that happens on March 4th at the archaeological site, which is usually organized by the archaeologists. They bring the elderly people, the women, the children from the nearby communities. Some people like me who are given the honor to participate. Archaeologists and tour guides, we go there to watch the sun enter the pyramid. Music is played, there's a ceremony performed, altars are made from a special plant called a chimal, which is what you see during the Alborada in early October when they place the altars in front of the churches made of a special plant. It's called the chimal plant is almost in extinction because of the overharvest, because of these ceremonies, but they place those over the altars or over the burial sites to honor the dead who are buried there. Every day at the archaeological site is the Day of the Dead, and it's a great honor to watch that happen. We haven't done that since COVID hit. We hope to bring it back. But March 4th, October 9th, the equinoxes, the solstices were very important to these people, but it was mostly important among what they call the archaeological otomi. If anyone ever asked you who the people were who built the archaeological sites in this area, and of course, well, let me clarify something. Archaeology and anthropology is about 80% interpretation. The hard physical evidence that comes from 20% of it, which is carbon-14 dating, DNA testing, things like that. The rest of it, some would tell you, is like people sitting around a table trying to put together a puzzle with only some of the pieces and people arguing about what it should look like. So there's a lot of interpretation. But the interpretation is that these people that built the sites in this area were the pre-Aztec. People who are ancestors of the Aztec Empire, or people who became Aztec people later. The Otomi language that's spoken in this area is the 7th most widely spoken in the country, of 68 languages spoken. And the unique aspect of the pre-Hispanic history of this area is that unique indigenous aspect, because they're known as the forgotten people. They helped build the big metropolis of Teotihuacan outside of Mexico City, the Toltec capital of Tula, Toltecs being the ancestors of the Aztecs, and became elite mercenary marksmen for the Aztec army. The word Otomi means bird shooters. They were said to be able to shoot birds out of the sky with a bow and arrow, known for their marksmanship. But in the end, they're one of the groups like the Tlaxcalans that joined up with the Spanish to help overthrow the Aztecs. They were considered traitors, so ethnographers and historians have neglected them. Sites like this in this area are bringing them back to light. The language itself is a tonal language like Chinese and Southeast Asian languages. There's a unique link to China and Southeast Asia and Asia in general, but all indigenous people in this hemisphere are Asian genetically. They're descended from the big game hunters who hunted mammoth and megafauna who crossed over from Asia at the end of the Ice Age. They're all Asian genetically, and that may be the root for some of these tonal languages and the iconography, religious elements, pottery styles, and art that link these people to China. The biggest connection to that area, and like China and Central Asia, is the worship of one of their principal deities, the feathered serpent. Looks an awful lot like the dragon to me. Other deities like Mixcoatl, cloud serpent, Tezcatlipoca, the god of death, darkness, sorcery, and the underworld, duality, always present in the form of deities, architecture, religion, something that's definitely present in religions today, especially Christianity, but the concept of heaven and hell was not a concept familiar to people in pre-Hispanic times. It was not a negative, positive type of duality. It was these people were more like related to the Eastern cultures and the concept of the yin and yang, the duality, the complementary aspects of duality. That's present in the architecture, especially the sunken patio and the pyramid. And I get a lot of grief from some of the other tour guides and other people who tell me not to mention the word pyramid, because the pyramid technically has smooth sides, comes to a point at the top related to the Egyptian pyramids. But in Spanish, they call them basamentos piramidales, which means basically a pyramid-like structure. But in all the archaeological sites and all the lettering, all the publicity, they're called pyramids. I use the word pyramid so that my presentation isn't hindered by having to say basic pyramidal structure every 5 minutes. But basically, I can tell you this about the shape of a pyramid. And it's kind of the same thing. I'm sorry about my accent, by the way. I'm from Louisiana. Is that okay with everyone? I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's why I live here now. But the shape of a pyramid, where are you from? We'll talk later. The basic shape of a pyramid is the way to get a structure as close to the sky as possible without it collapsing. And connecting the sky and earth and heaven and the earth through ceremony and burial practices was common throughout the world. So it's almost logical that a pyramid structure would be built by people in Southeast Asia, Egypt, here in Mexico, Peru. The sunken patio, actually, which is the characteristic element of the architecture here, may have been introduced by the Peruvians. Peruvians had what we know is the only direct trade connection physically with Mexico. Peruvian sea traders made their way up the west coast of Mexico, introduced the working of copper, pottery styles, and possibly the sunken patio, which is actually a ceremonial center, a timekeeping instrument, an observatory, a burial ground, and a pilgrimage destination. The pilgrimages that you may see people, if you drive down the highway sometimes of the year and you see a pilgrimage of people either on horses or walking with a saint and a case in front of them carrying that to another church, is basically the replica of what these people did to their ceremonial centers, and all on foot. No beast of burden, no wheel. The only two domestic animals before the Spanish came were the turkey and the dog. It was all done on foot. But that type of syncretism and the pyramid building, the honoring of the earth and the sky, the connection to it too, because I believe these people that lived in this area and built these monumental structures were much more in tune with the earth and intuition, followed their dreams, just like the modern day Mayan people do down in places like Chiapas and Guatemala. They interpret dreams, they follow them, they interpret them. If a child has a nightmare, the child wakes up, they tell the family gets together, they could discuss it, to determine what it meant. I worked for the landowner of the hacienda, Regina, whom some of you may have known. She studied that among those people in Guatemala, and a lot of the information that she told me about was secretive information, but people in Guatemala still follow the Solquin the ritual calendar of 260 days, a combination of numbers and symbols that are meshed into a solar calendar. By the way, I'm trying to compress about a semester's worth of Mesoamerican archaeology into about 5 minutes, but their calendar system was the most precise and elaborate of all the ancient world, in my opinion. But the calendar, astronomy, architecture, religion was all the same thing to them. What they saw in the sky were the gods manifested, the natural processes, the cycles of agriculture and hunting and gathering were dictated by the movements of the celestial bodies, and they collaborated with it. A final point I'd like to mention, and this comes really from, and I give credit to Gabriela Cepeda. As I mentioned, she's undergoing chemotherapy at the moment, the lead archaeologist. Almost all the information I give to people I get from her. She's the expert. And Rosana Quiroz, the archaeoastronomer. I was a volunteer for a while in 2004. My background is Mesoamerican archaeology. I studied that in college at Louisiana State University because their focus is Mesoamerica. But the information I get from them and from the people, local people, especially about the medicinal plant knowledge and the languages that's being lost very quickly, I get this from them. And Rosanna would tell you, for example, I'm going to paraphrase it, but when we go to sleep at night, we take for granted that the next day the sun will come up, and we don't worry about it. These people didn't. They thought that they needed to collaborate, build monuments, ceremony, sacrifice, to keep the cycles of the cosmos in motion, and they were connected in such an intimate way with that and the earth that their actual blood was given every day. Their children were sacrificed, in some cases, to bring the rain. The intimate connection to the earth and cosmos was something that we, I think, have been severed from. I'm not saying we should go back to the human sacrifice part, but that's what really inspires me every day to give the tour and to be real privileged to present information to people, because I think maybe my purpose here is to, and it's not like I'm the only one, but I'm trying to every day just try to reconnect people to that lost connection. And ceremonies like this help me do that, and thank you for having me here, because it's really, this is better for me. It's better for me than for you. Was that what they say about spanking kids? This is going to hurt me more than... I really appreciate it. Thank you for letting me come. I could go over. Thank you. Happy Sunday.
Thank you, Albert. We're about to take our weekly offering, and Yaya will play for us again. Though most of the work of operating our fellowship is done by volunteers and committees, we do pay our minister, and we pay 4 Mexican staff members for administrative and technical work. We also pay for the rental of this room and various other things. And for many years, we have also given support to local nonprofits that provide health, educational, and environmental services for underserved communities in the San Miguel area. Though we are in a period of transition as to how exactly we do that, we intend to keep giving back. It is one of the ways we put our ideals into action. The offering for the work of our fellowship will now be collected and most gratefully received.
Thank you. Goodbye. Good morning. My English is basic. Anyway, I try. For me, this morning is special because I work for 25 years with community native around the world, in speciality in my country, Chile. In this country, I have 67 language native in Mexico, and I play one song in one language, the name Quiliwa, from Baja California. In this moment, only 4 people speak this language. And I write the song about the moon, because the connection with, in general, the earth, no? The moon, the sun, the earth, the animals, are so important for the compassion live, no? In different religions or life philosophy. Thank you for to listen in Kiliwa with all the love for you this morning.
Halanay napmahay, halanay napmahay, halanay napmahay. May kuya halanay napmahay, halanay napmahay, halanay napmahay. May kuya may
Thank you so much, Yaya. That was beautiful. Now, let's join our voices together in song. I invite you to stand as you are willing and able and sing hymn number 175, We Celebrate the Web of Life. The lyrics will appear on the screen. Paula, if you would extinguish our chalice, please. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts of each of us. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place, and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. Jerry?